I was thinking about depression, and I realized that most of us live with people who are depressed, if not ourselves. But the big question is, how do we normally handle the depression we are in? Depressing situations require a very technical approach to handle. We must be sober enough, with a lot of wisdom, to handle situations that arise at that time when we least expect. When you are depressed, you are required to know what is the cause of the depression. How well we handle the depression in our children, how well we handle the depression in our staff, requires a lot of thinking, a lot of carefulness as we handle such situations. This morning, somebody called me, and in that conversation, I realized that one of her children was in a situation that the parents would not even be able to understand. Look at this scenario. This is a situation whereby you find your child in her own room doing what you least expected as a parent. As a result, the mother becomes very bitter, beats the child to almost death. The following day, the child is depressed and decides to commit suicide. It was such a bad scenario that I wouldn't even be very happy to think about. Then I realized, as parents, how do we handle depression? How do we deal with situations that require a lot of soberness, a lot of sincerity, and a lot of humanity? It's true that the pandemic has struck us hard. We are with the children at home. Depression is the order of the day. Stresses are there. A lot of issues are coming up. But how are we dealing with these situations? I require that we seek the best approach to handle these situations. These children are still young and vulnerable. They require us. They require our wisdom. They require us to guide them wholeheartedly. Beating your children to death is not the solution. It's true that we were all created as human beings, and once in a while, we run short of glory. That's the time when we most require one another. We require counseling, we require guidance, so that at the end of it all, we shall be very happy when we are all successful, when we have impacted our children's lives. Problems that we encounter must always strengthen us. We were not created to be depressed. We were created to be happy. We were not created to be guilty. We were created to be successful. We were not created to be crying all the time. Irrespective of the situations we are in, irrespective of the most painful moments that we encounter, let us remain optimistic and hopeful that tomorrow will always be a better day. Remember, joy always comes in the morning. Before that joy comes, what have we gone through? And have we been courageous enough to handle those situations that we have gone through? I speak with a lot of concern about depression. Some of us are adults, maybe some of us are still young, but let us know that when we are depressed, that's when we need the best approach to handle the situations we are in. All of us have a role to play to impact the world positively. We are all in a situation where we must rethink and reassess what role have we done in the community. Where do you live? What have you done to the people whom you live with? What have you done to your neighbor? What have you done to your children? Do you counsel them? Do you talk to them? They require our constant counseling because the young generation are suffering so much. And what makes matters worse is that they suffer silently. Suffering silently is deadly, is actually disastrous. Let us come up and always seek guidance from one another. Let us always be quick enough to understand that our children are depressed, and then ask ourselves, what could be the cause? Let us be as free as possible with our children. Let us be as open as possible as a mother in the kitchen who must provide whatever she cooks for the children without hiding anything. At the end of it all, we shall be very successful people. The world will be the greatest place to live in. I feel very happy because every day someone calls me and tells me, Peter, you talked to me on such and such a day. I was depressed. We shared our experiences together. And finally, I found myself being relieved. I wish to encourage all my friends all over the world that let us rethink. Let us ask ourselves, what role must we play? Remember, depressions vary. There are those who are depressed over relationships. Others are depressed over family issues. Others are depressed maybe over wrangles concerning leadership and so on. But at the end of it all, I'm very hopeful and happy that depression will not put us down. Instead, we shall put depression down and emerge triumphant and successful. I feel very happy because every day there is so much that I learn from the society. And you too can learn so much. I really feel that the depression the children are going through is so painful, it's so touching, it's so hard. Actually, it hurts for you to see your sister being in a situation that you cannot even explain. But if you remain optimistic, if you remain hopeful, if you remain caring and loving, I want to assure you that one day that daughter, that young child will appreciate you and never forget the good you did. I'm happy to note that most of my friends worldwide engage with me freely. And maybe towards the tail end, I want to inform you that when I formed the Msugu Peter Foundation, and it is fully registered, I was confronted by a mixed feelings over what was happening in the society. And I realized that by forming Msugu Peter Foundation, through that organization, I should be able to reach children throughout the world, reach adults, irrespective of the gender, where they come from. Because our success is not necessarily what we have, but the lives that we have changed, the lives that we have transformed, define our success. So I wish to encourage all of you that Msugu Peter Foundation is a committed organization to excellence. Let us support it. Let's embrace it. Embrace the idea. And my first priority is to champion the rights of the children, because we have noted that the children are fully deprived of the opportunities. Most of them have been exploited. We have a silent majority. The children are silent because they cannot raise their voices. Let us come together, and you know that depression is a big disease that is eating the society silently. However, with your commitment, with your love, with your passion to transformation, we shall deal with the trauma wholeheartedly.